Well, Downsview, there's a bit of a update there from the squirrel that I mentioned had found its way into the church. This is the window out in the foyer that looks out onto Downsview Avenue and made a bit of a mess of it. We've had the squirrel gone from the church now, as I was hoping yesterday that I'd kind of fleshed him out. And then this morning I came in again and, well, this is what I saw was this garbage can, which is now full of the debris that I've swept up from the window, but had before it a little squirrel in it. And so as I came in this morning, I'm thinking that, I hope the squirrel is gone from yesterday. I closed all the doors in here and all the sanctuary doors, and then he was in the lobby and I opened the front door, propped it open, thought, okay, that's his way out. I kind of threw a book over there and tried to scare him and just get him to zip out. Well, I wasn't sure if he had or not. And so when I came in this morning, I'm looking closely and I'm thinking he's gone because I don't see him around anywhere. I don't see any other tears in the window as much as it was. And what I did was I'm looking because I noticed one of the other garbage cans was tipped over. And what I did was I went over to closely look, and in the garbage can, I can see this little black ball shivering. And I'm thinking, he's still here, and he's taken shelter in the only place that looks like he could get a little bit of refuge. And so I take one of the boxes and I kind of put it over it, and the waste paper basket actually turned over, and so I just held it down and carried the box out back and put it down and kind of knocked it over. And, he didn't move, and I thought, oh, well, maybe he crawled in there and died. But I kind of hit it, moved it with a stick, and there he goes. Runs up the tree, all is well. So I'm glad for that. I'm glad he's not in the church anymore. I'm glad that he wasn't just dead. I'm glad that however he got in here, he was able to get out again and up in the tree. And all is well. So we got a little bit of a repair in the coming months. Probably just need a new screen on there and maybe a little bit of paint, but really no major damage done. As you know, I always watch for opportunities like this for sermon illustrations. And I immediately thought, where the psalmist tells us that we take refuge in the shadow of your wings, O Lord. When he says that, one of the things the psalmist is recognizing is that the place to take refuge is a place where you find refuge. That you don't just take a moment or take whatever spot you find or whatever situation you're going to take shelter in. You've got to find a place that'll actually give you shelter, that'll actually do what you want. And I thought this little squirrel took shelter in a waste paper basket. It's not going to work. It's not going to sustain him. It's not actually going to shelter him, because I just got in there and took him outside. And it's striking to me that the picture of him taking refuge in something that was actually not a place of refuge is something that we're still not totally immune from doing ourselves, isn't it? Even as believers. Because the psalmist is speaking to believers, saying to the Lord, speaking of believers when he speaks to the Lord, that we take refuge in the shadow of your wings. Remember Jesus looking over Jerusalem and lamenting, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how I long to gather you in like a hen gathers its chicks under its wings. And there's something about Jesus being, Psalm 46, our refuge and our strength, a very present help in time of trouble. This little squirrel was looking for help somehow. When I came in yesterday, we both kind of got a start because I didn't know he was in here and he didn't expect me to come in, and he was running around. And I think I got to pick up the clock over there. It's still knocked over as he ran around, and it was startling and surprising. And he was looking for help, and his help was a way out. And if he couldn't get a way out, then he wanted a shelter. When we difficulties come in our lives, we want a way out from them, or we want a shelter from the difficulty, from the problem. And brothers and sisters, we just need to remind ourselves again and again that, looking for shelter and refuge and protection where it's not going to be found means we're not going to be helped. And it can sound somewhat sermonic, I know that, but the fact is that we're going to be talking about, again, how much the Lord cares for us and how much God is honored in our depending upon Him because He cares for us. But it's a great antidote against worry and anxiety. We're going to continue that again this Sunday morning. And there's something that worry and anxiety shows, that even though Jesus offers Himself as a shelter from the storm, so to speak, that my worry shows that He's not enough for me. Oh, I wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say that out loud, but what else does worry betray? Is Jesus not enough? Is Jesus' promises not real? Are they not to be believed? Is he not trustworthy? Yes, yes, yes. Well, then what am I worried about? Well, I'm worried because there needs to be a focus on the fact of Him being the one in whom we take refuge, where we take shelter from the great difficulties of this world, instead of taking shelter in the world from the things of the world. We find our comfort and our refuge in money so often. Some of us will be filing our income tax. Perhaps some of you have already done that. And a good number of people get an income tax refund, and we think, oh boy, I feel a little better now when that check came in. There's nothing wrong with feeling good and feeling grateful for that, but I do catch myself going, I'm really no more secure because of God, because I got this check. So what does it betray about my heart that I feel like that when the money comes in? When you get the health report back, right? The doctor's results, the blood test, the CT scan, the MRI, the X-ray, simply your yearly physical, you get the results back. Okay, good. My wife tells me all the time, the doctor doesn't make you sick. He just reveals whether or not it's there and gives you a course of treatment. So why are you nervous about going to the doctor? Why are we nervous? Well, in some ways, if I don't hear about it, it's not a problem. It doesn't affect me. Not the brightest way to operate, is it? But, there's just something about, the finances or our health. It's even the numbers and health of our church, right? God is so much better this past Sunday when we had, 60, 65 people here, when we've had under 20 at times. Well, we should give thanks and we should feel good and we should be grateful, but we need to remember that God had not stepped off the throne the rest of the time. Oh, I know that it's just that. Sometimes the answer is it's just that. I'm not so sure that He was doing the things the way He should have been doing them. We're coming out of the other end of this COVID. We got to wear masks for 2 more weeks now, but that's it. Just this Sunday and then the 20th, and then by the 27th, no mask required, no capacity limits, no physical distancing. And there'll be some folks who are still cautious. And sometimes cautious because we're a little fearful, a little nervous, a little anxious, a little worried. And we need to respect one another and be patient with one another and help people to understand that there's no need for that, but help people to understand that we know that they're feeling a certain way. And as we said last Sunday, you can't just turn the switch off. And so being prepared to be patient and careful and even in the way we interact with each other. What's the matter with you? What do you got that mask on? You don't need that. That's not going to help people. right? What do you mean you don't want to shake my hand? What's the matter with you? We need to be patient in the midst of all of our weaknesses. And we need to seek, as we move forward, to establish all more clearly in our minds that Jesus is the one in whom we take refuge, that his promises are sure, that his grace is real, that his word is trustworthy because he is trustworthy and real. And he is our very present help. A very present help in time of trouble, as Psalm 46 reminds us. Friends, as you meditate on that this morning, we're looking forward to Sunday morning. I suppose some of you have noticed that we spring forward this coming Sunday, which means when you leave the house at 9, you're actually leaving the house at 10, which means when you get up at 8 in the morning, it's actually already 9 o'clock, which means if you come to church at 10, it's already 11. So set your clocks ahead. I actually do it a couple days early sometimes, so I don't miss it. But we're all going to come an hour earlier, which means, hey, lunch happens an hour earlier this Sunday. How about that? Rather than I lose an hour of sleep, I get lunch an hour earlier. Whatever kind of mental gymnastics you have to play with yourself to handle this. But we do move forward, and so remember that on Sunday morning that we'll be here still at 10 a.m., but be sure you set your clocks forward before you head to bed on Saturday evening. Friends, really looking forward to seeing you and looking forward to you being amongst us to worship together here on Sunday morning. Cheers.